Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 8, Chapter 25. Emergence of Enthusiasm. Bharatiya Samskriti, Indian culture, is being revered as an ideal constructive contribution to human welfare. But its legitimate inheritors are neglecting it and losing the peace and joy that it can confer. This Samskriti is a huge tree whose branches have spread over the entire world, giving comforting shade to all the peoples. The basic discoveries of this culture that teach the methods of acquiring that peace and joy cannot be challenged and negatived by science. For science can only manipulate material things and study their interactions, behavior, composition, and structure. Moreover, in science, the hypothesis that is found valid today may be negatived by a new set of facts that come to light tomorrow. The spiritual laws that the sages of India have discovered and laid down will never be overruled. They stand valid forever. Further research in spiritual laws can only strengthen and confirm their authenticity, just as further facets only render the diamond more brilliant. Bharat has contributed to the world the priceless gem of truth. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hardise Arjuna Tishtati. God is the resident motivator of all beings. Until this fact is realized by the individual, he will be tainted by traces of anger, pride, and hate, for he sees others as distinct and different. All men in all countries are on the same pilgrimage. Karna, the eldest born of the Pandavas, did not know that he was the brother of the other 5, nor did the 5 brothers know this fact. As a consequence of this ignorance, Karna was saturated with hatred towards the 5. He longed to destroy them. He prepared himself for battle against them with unabated vigor. The 5 younger brothers too planned to destroy him and behave towards him as if he were their deadly enemy. When Dharmaraja, the eldest of the Pandavas, came to know after the death of Karna, which they effected successfully, that Karna was his brother, his agony knew no bounds. He was struck disconsolate and was torn by despair. If only Dharmaraja had known the truth. All that grief could have been avoided, isn't it? So too, until you know that all are altars where the same God is installed. All are moved and motivated by the grace of the self-same God. You are afflicted by hate and pride. Once you know it and experience it, you are full of love and reverence to all. The barbarous remedy of war will be given up when this basic brotherhood is felt in the deepest core of man. All men in all countries are pilgrims proceeding along the path to God. The progress of each is decided by the discipline adopted, the character formed, the ideals kept in view, the leadership chosen, and the faith implanted. Just as trees and plants, birds and beasts differ from one region to another, the rituals, practices, disciplines, and ideals may differ from community to community. Each is good for that region and that stage of development. You cannot transplant one from one human community to another. The atmosphere in which you have grown up is the most congenial for you. For God, Universe is the mansion. It was this principle of love, based on the recognition of oneness in God, that was planted by me in East Africa. The Atma Tattva, which is the wave God of the ocean God that is in the hearts of all men, was declared by me at Nairobi and Kampala in my discourses. The emergence of enthusiasm that day at Nairobi when I landed is something indescribable. People were filled with supreme ananda, divine bliss, wherever I went, though in special planes and without intimation. People gathered in large numbers, their eyes shining in joy and love. Your material eyes see countries as different. In reality, all countries are limbs of one organism. All bodies are activated by the same principle. For God, the universe is the mansion. Each nation is a room, a hall in that mansion. So when I move from one room to another and come back, why do you indulge in all this commotion and celebration? I do not feel that I had been to another mansion. It was all so familiar to me. You too should not emphasize the apparent distinction. For the divine, all are the same. At first, in Kampala, most Africans were gathering on one side and the Indians on another. But the very next day, as a result of my counsel, they came together and sat in friendly company, singing the bhajan, group singing songs in unison. And when I left, the Africans, along with their Indian friends and companions, were shedding tears at the thought of separation. Even the constables on duty sobbed and called out, "My Lord," unable to bear the grief. Without bounds, devotion easily falls into hysteria. Dr. Munshi now described Bombay as the city of lost faith. People here have value, dhanam, riches, more than dharma, right conduct. But I know that the citizens of Bombay are imbibed with a great craving for the right, the moral, and the spiritually uplifting dharma. I know that they yearn for it and would like to acquire it. Only they have no knowledge or experience of the discipline that can confer it, the mode of life that will ensure it. The young volunteers who regulated and served the gathering at Kampala and Nairobi were students of colleges and schools. They had no experience of such vast numbers. Each one was eager to approach me and offer their obeisance to me. Yet they served remarkably well. They had scant knowledge of Indian ceremonial as regards reception and welcome, but they attended to every detail with remarkable anticipation. You in Bombay have heard me often, and you are aware of the rules of discipline, which I like to have observed. But I found Africans were much better. However far I moved among the huge gatherings, people never ventured to rise and fall at my feet. They did not as much as lean forward to touch them, unless I indicated that they could. They paid homage in their hearts only. Devotion, when it knows no bounds, easily falls into hysteria. The nations of the West are yearning now for the opportunity to listen to the message from me and learn the lesson of love. For they have lost the secret of peace within, each one from the ministers, the commander-in-chief, and the mayor to the ordinary peasant and laborer. declared that they had never experienced such ananda before as the visit gave them. The mayor of Kampala said when I was leaving, "We cannot give you a send-off, for you are always welcome." Henceforth, you will see Dharma illumining with its splendor country after country. In every country, what is most essential is the practice of the principles they profess, the bringing into the details of daily life, the attitudes of brotherliness that devotion to God instills. In India too, children of Bharat have to be inspiring examples of what spiritual sadhana can achieve, how much of prema and shanti it can bestow. Be good Hindus, that is to say, act according to the meaning of the word Hindu. Hindu means he who is dura, far from him, himsa, cruelty, violence. Be immersed in prema, you will ever be away from violence. You can then be in shanti, and others will derive shanti through you. Dharmakshetra, Bombay, July 14th, 1968. You do not wait with folded hands for the cup of coffee to cool down to the required warmth. You ask for an extra cup, and you start pouring the coffee from one cup to the other, is it not? The same anxiety, the same sadhana has to be shown in spiritual matters also. That is how to take in the beverage of divine grace. Sri Sathya Sai Baba.